Hey everyone, it's Coach Dave March here, and in this episode of the Growth Mindset podcast, we are speaking to you, executives, CHROs, to the VPs, and if you're interested in productivity, if you're interested in retaining your staff and some talent management strategies, stick around. This episode's for you. All right, everyone. Welcome back. Of course, I'm your host, Coach Dave March here, and I have my wonderful co-host, Patrick Brown. Say
How's
hello to
everybody
the
doing?
fine
Hey,
people.
how's everybody doing? Glad to be here. It's another moment to grow the mind. So, yeah, let's get it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So I'm really pumped up about this one. Um, you know, I've I've done a lot of career coaching, I've done a lot of recruiting,
Hmm.
and you know, I was working with one client and it came to me that there's another aspect of this. I always talk about recruiting, which is, finding people. I always talk about career coaching, which is, you know, getting people to the next level. But the other idea is internally.
Hmm.
Instead of people leaving an organization to get a new position, to get the growth that they're looking for, or and that's either in a employee situation or in a like a scaling kind of situation for a business
Yeah.
trying to recruiting. Um, we're talking more about creating the environment, promoting from within, and setting up the plans for internal career transition. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Basically the prequel. I mean, leaving is kind of the end result of already having a bad work environment. So we want to catch it before it gets to the point where someone has to leave and look for a career coach.
Yeah, yeah. So this is really exciting. And throughout my journey as a coach, I've hired other coaches to help me, and I've hired different types of business coaches and such. And um, one of the things that really struck me was there's, and even working in multiple different jobs,
Yeah.
there's really a divide of like fear-based leadership and then like inspiration-based leadership.
Hmm.
Um, and so this is what came to me as I was meditating on this, as you know, I love to
Yeah.
do. Uh,
True, true, true.
so we've all seen the movies where the gangster thug holds the person upside down on holding his legs over a tall building, causing them to fear for their life. When watching the movie, most of us can agree that this is a terrible and torturous position for that person to be in.
Absolutely.
However, fear-based motivation and fear-based leadership is still commonplace. Not likely to this extreme, but think about the old school sales process, for example. It's around causing pain, having people relive the pain or the going into the pain emotionally, the
Mm.
emotional pain, right?
Yeah.
And
You mean emotional based selling tactics?
yeah, emotional based selling tactics. Yeah, I mean, of
Absolutely.
course, in business life and everything, no one's putting a gun to your head, and
Yeah.
no one's holding you over a tall building. But
Got you.
but it could feel like that from the emotional pain, and it's usually caused to such an extent that they want a solution, and that's usually the point. You want to put them in such a painful position so that you get the information. When in the movies they said put me down, right?
Hmm.
But in the sales process it signed me up. So I was thinking, I think we're done with this fear-based leadership. And if there's I was thinking, is there a different way? Is there a way where we can lead through inspiration instead of steamrolling or pushing your way through,
Yeah.
empowering people to choose, and paving the way for people to move forward?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's one of those things where it's like we've been so accustomed to treating workers or employees as lesser people. And it's funny because I it always reminds me of parenting. Like I think I said this before, but when people look at authority, their first introduction to authority was their parents, which I think may have something on another level to deal with these old school bosses, meaning if your parents were no nonsense, you think about your parents and the same idea of an old school boss, then you might see where the guiding principle for most old school bosses come from. And here we are entering into an age where there have been new concepts to parenting, which now seems like we are open to have the discussion about new ways of governing a company. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you know, w- with the new school kind of leadership, we're focusing a little bit more on like heart-based leadership, right? More like sensitivity.
Hmm.
And there's in that respect, what we're looking to do is create systems or structures or processes um, to transform the workplace
Got you.
and to create high performance cultures, to create cultures of growth, and employee engagement and genuine employee satisfaction. And so that's I think where we need to go more of because I think we're just done with this whole idea of like, well, if you don't like this, there's the
You can hit
door.
the road. Exactly. It's either my way or the highway.
Yeah. So I think we're just time for change that. Um, and this topic actually has been something I've been really interested for a long time. Um, you know, I remember back like when I was like 19 delivering pizzas in North Jersey. I was interested in ideas like fractional unemployment
Hmm.
and that's like how long it takes to get a new hire to match
Okay.
the productivity of someone who's left.
So you said fractional
Yeah,
unemployment.
yeah, it's called fractional unemployment. It's like
Hmm.
that period of time where it's like
Between being employed and not.
yeah, of the person for the person's sense, but also for the company. There's like
Hmm.
there's this period of time that it takes for a company to get another person in
Got you.
that was equal to the person that left.
Absolutely. Got you.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that sense, when I start talking about that, I start thinking about consequences. It's like sometimes these like old school bosses, they just don't consider the consequences, right? Like you have somebody
Hmm.
that is working there for many years and has done great for them. And then at the drop of a hat, it's just like, you know what, you're fired. It's like, do you even consider like the consequences of what
Hmm.
you're doing there?
Of course not. Of course not. And I think that is a problem because, again, based on the idea of parental training, well, no one employs a new kid. The kid is just always going to be there. So the consequences of losing the kid was never a thing. So the idea of losing the employee, that's why these threats are so easily thrown around because most employees need their job so they're not going anywhere, just like a child needs their parent. But, if it's my way or the highway and you're a kid now who's got like a few 100,000 from Twitch, it may be, you know what? I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would really, so I think it's the same issue comes in because that's where they learned it. And companies, higher ups in companies who put these supervisors in place probably don't even offer any training on exactly what you're talking about. I never even heard the term until you spoke it just then, fractional unemployment. Just the amount it costs a company to have that hole in the company. It's like I
yeah,
didn't think about it.
yeah,
And I'm sure others don't either when they're talking. what they're talking.
Yeah, because it's like the couple people leave, who's taking over that work? Now it's on somebody else's shoulders. And not only is there lower productivity because now this person is kind of be burned out because the work is like two or three people's jobs,
Hmm.
but also, there's the conundrum of recruiting. It's like, well, we can't interview because we're so full of doing the work.
Yeah.
Uh, and so how do we get someone in new? We don't have the time to get our original work done in the first place. So there's a kind of conundrum of recruiting. Like,
And any worthwhile company has more than one interview process. Especially
yeah.
if you're looking for a high level, person, it could be a month. Just the interview process alone could be a month to a month and a half. So even
Sometimes it takes 2 months. Yeah.
if you had a new person lined up, soon as that person left, you still have almost a 2 month lead time.
And then also the training that has to get involved to get back to the level of productivity.
Yep.
And it's interesting that you're using the parental kind of idea. Um, because I always say like, um, like, oh, we're a family here at
Mhm.
at this company. We're a family environment. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and
you
that's
never knew how true that was. And I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy.
people always say that, like, oh, we're like a family here. Oh, but
You the kids. Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like what you said was so important too, because at most jobs, I'd say 80% of jobs, it's at will employment.
Mm.
So either party can leave. It's
Terminate that in. Yeah.
get terminate. So it's not like with your kids, you ain't gonna like terminate your kids. It's like
We
so
we
it's
hope. We hope you won't terminate
economic.
your kids. But yeah.
Yeah. But so that's a really good point there, that will employment. And so, yeah, just going back to my kind of whole story here, um, that's where I kind of started at, like this idea of fractional unemployment for the company. Um, but at a young age, I couldn't just be a business consultant at
Hmm.
19.
True.
So I kind of rose through the ranks here and started with career coaching, helping people with career transitions and recruiting, and so I'm happy to kind of get into this aspect of creating environments for employee engagement, creating high performance cultures, and at the end of the day, really creating retention for your best people.
Hmm.
And also, not having to have your company like a revolving door, which not
Yeah.
only hurts the resources inside the company, but outside the company, the customers. When the customers aren't able to see that same person over and over again, they don't like that either. It's like,
Mm-mm.
seems like if I'm going to a company, seems like every 3 months they're turning over people. Like they're gonna say, "Well, I already told the other guy 3 months ago what the problem was. Now there's a new guy here, and I gotta explain my whole situation again."
Yeah. Yeah. I think that also when you have a revolving door company, it also hurts you in the aspect of quality of recruitment. I feel like the level of recruit, let's say you were recruiting high. I'm sorry, because I started thinking about relationships. Let's say you're recruiting high in the beginning, because of exclusivity of your company, meaning like people coveted to be in the company. But as more people go in and out, there is a signaling that this is not the place to be from other prospective people looking for jobs, which thus means your level of people that decide to actually apply will become less and less on the skill level because high skilled people just don't apply for that company. because they've already got a reputation of a revolving door. So yeah, it can hurt you on three fronts.
100%, 100%. Um, so really the real key here is for the leadership to set up the structures and systems in place to pave the way for the people's growth. Instead of them having to say, all right, well, I'm looking for a 20% increase in salary, or I'm looking for a $20,000 increase in salary, whatever the situation may be. And and then they say, oh, that's nice. Yeah, you're not going to get that here. Sorry.
Mm.
And there's no conversation. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, then I got to go somewhere
And they
else.
exactly. They already start putting their resume out. If that's what they need and there's no conversation, they're already putting their resume out. So,
Yeah. So that's why this conversation here, this episode here is more about the internal growth and internal systems.
hmm
And so, in doing that, so how do we create really a high performance culture? Uh, I think it starts with creating clarity, and creating a structure around the strategy. It's going to be
absolutely
used for performance tracking. It's going to be used for,
big.
um,
That's
you
big.
know, what was that?
Performance tracking, absolutely big in
Yeah,
this whole
yeah, performance
situation.
tracking, and having different tools in place so that people can understand what they need to do to grow in the company. Um, Now, just to take an opposing viewpoint, they might say, okay, well, now that they know with the things, they're going to try to game the system and try to do only what they need to do to survive
I,
or to get to the next level. What do you think about that?
I think, what's so funny about that is, man, you mind if I bird walk slightly on religion? It's only because I came from a gig, was talking to a friend of mine. We were talking about religion and Christianity, and this is for any religious people that may be listening. This is not in any shape, form, or fashion to offend, but it's to the idea of, um, they said if one believes in Jesus Christ, thou shalt be saved. And the fundamental idea was that if you do believe in Jesus, then you will act a certain way based on the fact that you do believe. But if you don't believe that someone has done what they said they've done, then you'll find your behavior to show it. So a lot of people look at that belief as being a thought as opposed to an action. When you believe in something, now what am I talking about? Well, performance tracking. Well, if you look at the idea as that you set a set of directives for the company, for the people to be able to elevate themselves from, you know what I'm saying, from these so-called bullet points. If the bullet points are worthwhile enough, it does not matter if they only uphold them for the sake of getting advanced. It's to the point where you did it well enough that those things actually produce more for the company, so there is more to give them in the first place. So I don't really care as a business, it's emotional to care what their motivations are. It just should matter whether they fulfill the directive or not, therefore making the company more productive. Whether they completely hate the company, I don't care how you feel about it, long as you shine brightly for us. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. If the strategy is done right and the goals are such where they're making the company two or three times, but four times more um than their salary and all these
yeah.
type of things.
E-
What does it really matter if, like, hey, you know well, your heart's not into it or whatever.
mhm,
I mean, look, he's doing his work. I mean, that's important. I mean,
exactly.
look, I think that there's obviously a point of relationships. You don't want to step on anyone's toes and stuff, piss everyone off. Okay, maybe
Mhm.
maybe you got to the top, you reached the goal, but in doing so, you pissed off everyone in the company, and you know that's not a good thing, right? Because now we have an issue. Now we have because
Yes.
in doing so, maybe you coerced someone, or maybe you stole some leads or
Yeah.
stole a sale from five other people so that you
Now,
can hit the number.
now here's the funny thing.
That's an issue.
Here's the funny thing. I think the conversation that we're about to have about this is exactly what companies should be having in their boardrooms when creating their directives. Because one of the directives, if that's your fear, then one of the directives should be how well do you organize and move with the team? We're not an island as a company. So you being the greatest salesperson by yourself does not merit you. That, in other words, I'm going to force you to also have good relationships. If you're number one, you're going to be number one and pretty much the most liked person because you had to figure out how to work with these people. That's part of it. You make it a directive that working with the team. Therefore, your coworkers get to vote in essence in your promotion based on how y'all work well or don't work well together. So,
Yeah, I think it's a great point.
so
It's a great
yeah, I
point.
think these will be the conversations that when a company is serious about a productive atmosphere, they'll find themselves like we're doing right now, going back and forth on strength testing the system, building a system, then letting someone take shots at it to see, you know what I'm saying? Is it good? Is it productive or beneficial?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think another key point too, right? Key point
Hmm.
is creating a collaborative environment, right?
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of that comes down to psychological safety too. So
Mm, mm.
if you don't feel if there is a
You're killing it.
environment, there is
You're
a
killing it with these
culture that
terms.
you don't feel safe in sharing your opinion, how are we going to be collaborative? How are we each going to, how
Absolutely.
is each person going to have a voice if they don't feel safe to put that voice out?
Yeah. Yeah. Psychological safety is absolute if you're asking for vulnerability. If you're asking for people to give honest ideas and opinions on things in the company, then they cannot feel like you're going to attack them based off of it, which becomes another direct, especially with HR. I think this is falling in the line of HR of discrimination. One should not be discriminated against based on opinions and ideas that they have in, if we're having a meeting, a powwow about whatever we need to do, then there should be a non-discriminatory, clause, if you will, in your program, your system, your atmosphere, where people can have honest critiques without facing backlash.
Yeah, and for me, I think that it's so interesting because we're in a world where, of course, analyzing and all these things are really important, but sometimes the judgment gets too sharp, right? You can
Hmm.
really judge someone, and that takes away all the joy
Yeah.
from it. When you start saying, if there's a collaborative environment and all this kind of things. You can't just be like, and what's your idea, Patrick? That's stupid. Like
Yeah, I was
what?
about to say.
Like what?
Why
I thought
do
we're
you
all
always have
gonna.
the stupid ideas? Oh my God, what is it's this guy? This guy, this guy here. Yeah, once that happens, that people feel completely ostracized, and then there becomes cliques. That's another thing. Cliques that happen in groups, and that would be another thing one would have to work against. Because some people are going to work well together, and that's cool, but there should be a consistent need of rotation for those people when you do, certain things so that cliques aren't forming. We learn how to work with everybody. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. And
Some geniuses. Go ahead.
one thing I love to point out, I love to point out, and I also get some of this information too from Simon Sinek because he's worked a lot with military, military personnel. And I really like his analogies, and I've seen it myself too. And you've been in the military, I haven't been, but I think that there's a lot more unity in military than in a boardroom, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I think that that's really what we're talking about here: creating
Yeah.
unison, creating cohesion, creating team cohesion, and becoming a team. For some reason, in the boardroom, in a business setting, you you know you learn more about how to take advantage or how to one up someone versus how to work well
Yes.
with someone. I think one of the big things in the military is you do learn that kind of unity, the unity,
I'll
how to
tell you
come
the
together.
secret. The secret um to that unity in the military is if one messes up, we all suffer. There is no I did a good job. There is no I did a good job. There's even times where we do well and we still all suffer together. So in the end, they really squeeze the idea home that you're one. There is no personal achievement where you can say, well, everybody else messed up, but at least I did my part. No, you did not do your part if everybody didn't do their part. That's a non-existent idea. And I think that if you have teams and you do stuff like that in the boardroom, the problem is business is a funny thing because if you're in innovation, then you're always kind of pushing for higher growth, which thus comes from people feeling the need of competition. In the military, we're not pushing innovation. They already laid out what we're going to do. You don't need to invent a god doggone thing. You just need to do and move as a unit. Whereas when we're in business, we're trying to birth the next new idea to beat our competitors, thus creating an atmosphere where people are rewarded for being better or best, more money, so capitalism becomes starts to play a place in the boardroom where it's sort of like Hmm. How can I put it? When if you want to lie to the enemies, meaning the competitors, that's fine, but don't lie in the house. It's kind of the thing. So it's cool to be a capitalist outside of these four walls, but when you're in this building, we're no longer capitalists versus each other. And that's a problem,
Yeah.
that's a hard concept to drive home when we all get paid different salaries based on experience and years and things like that. So it becomes a tricky thing to balance considering, personal achievement does reward. But I think if we create a system that does merits on, it's a certain level of merits. Um, I think there's a consensus protocol in crypto. I can't even think of it right now. Or smart contracts where they pair things where
Yeah.
you can, these two coins are paired together as a wrapped coin or well. So
Mm.
I feel like if you really want promotion, though we will recognize individual achievements and the idea of you may have momentary incentives like a bonus because you reach this goal for the month. But if you want permanent salary increase, then you're going to have to also do well on the collaboration coin or collaboration side of things and wrap leadership of individual plus collaboration equals a certain number, therefore creating a salary increase as opposed to a quarterly bonus because you as an individual earner. So I think if we create, a system that is looking for both, you know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
collab, but it's not permanent growth unless you do both. You can get bonuses, a little trinket here or
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
something like that may
Totally.
be a synthesis. But
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the real thing that people don't, companies lack, companies don't do, is you really have to have the data on the people. And how do you do
mm,
that? You do surveys. You have division specific engagement surveys to understand how people are feeling, understand what the opinion is of this particular division and how they could grow. And getting more people involved, getting more voices heard through surveys, so that people can feel that. And of course, you know, again, the big piece there is safety as well, psychological safety, because it's like,
Hmm.
how can we improve HR? Oh, we can do this, this, and that, and you're fired. What? I thought he said, how can I improve it?
Ex-
Do you actually want my opinion? I don't understand.
No, no. Actually, you was just supposed to kiss our butt and tell us that we were awesome. But
Yeah,
yeah, you failed. That's what happened here.
that's
You
what you're.
failed.
So, so that's that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so sometimes that's going to take some leadership coaching, so that we can they can learn about different methods that you can use. And I think that the biggest piece that we really want to drive home beyond that is the cost of losing talent, top talent.
Mm, yeah.
Um, because if your best employee leaves for a 20% pay increase, replacing them with equal talent will likely cost you the same 20%
That he
plus
left
months
for.
of downtime, hiring
Yes.
costs, and training costs,
Ugh.
and then a potential ripple effect on other employees' productivity as well. So,
Yeah, it could be the straw that breaks somebody. It's like you were already running kind of thin, and losing somebody and shoving more work on, even if it's evenly distributed, it could be 3 to 4 people that was like one more and I am done moment. And that was it for 4 more people in the works that you don't even know has already made the I'm out of here, in their mind. So it's a retention is such an important thing because if you can start a ripple effect that could, you know, almost shatter a division of a company, just by losing one key person that you didn't realize was the cornerstone who was really holding your company together, which that's such a big thing. When you're not in tune with the personality traits of someone and you're only looking at them in their productivity, as quantifiable in business, I think that is a big problem because it can be someone that's not as productive as you think, but they're the motivation of why
glue, the
people,
glue. Yeah. Yeah,
yes,
that's funny
I'm
you
not the
say that.
best sales, but I'm the glue. And if I leave, everybody is going to be like, man, y'all got rid of him. We're out of here. That moment. And that's
Yeah.
when you'll find out, I guess he was more valuable than we thought. So,
Yeah, he might, and sometimes that person isn't the most productive person, or but they're like
exactly.
maybe like the empath of the group, or
Exactly. He's the person everybody feels they can vent to, and he's the one who brokers their energy for when they're like, I'm fed up. He's the one that makes them go, all right, I'll give it a little more time. And he's been doing that for your company for a while, even though you haven't noticed.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a big piece.
yeah.
Um, and that sometimes they say, there may not be a team, but there is glue. And there's that
And you know
one
what?
guy.
I think in the end, that's the biggest thing. This idea that you're putting out empowers executives to be able to choose. It's better to fire than to have someone quit on you because fire means you took an assessment of what you have in your assets and have prepared yourself for a replacement if you have to make a replacement. But to lose somebody means it's an unexpected event that can lead to a chain of other unexpected events that you may not be ready for and could really cause some very major financial damage to your company. So the idea is that if you won't have to figure out who's the glue and who's the leader if you create an atmosphere where no one wants to leave. You win all around.
100%, 100%. So that's really the solution. The
Yeah.
solution is creating the structure, the systems in place for mentorship, for growth, for retention, using engagement surveys to understand the satisfaction of each person, really to establish the clear KPIs,
Hmm.
um, and then build career progression frameworks. So it's not just like, a situation where you're there for 5 years and you only get 3% increase in those 5 years. And after 5 years, you get a 15% increase. Um, then it doesn't make sense, right? Because the person can just leave in 1 year and get a 20% increase. Why stay
Hmm.
5 years? So it's like the leadership has the power to change this. It's
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not it just you have to think about like the people a little bit more.
I
Um,
think I think the ambition of all people when they work is to get money. Like with military, we instill a sense of pride and protection of your country, where, money is a thing, but also part of our motivation is this sense of camaraderie and pride.
it's a
And
mission. It's a mission.
yeah, and a lot of times, as a company, unless someone was really in love with your company, you may not instill off gate that signing up for my company is, you should be with us because we're so great. But if you create a good atmosphere, you'll find the same patriotism that you find in military members start to gain a brand, loyalty of the company by working there and seeing that the people who, are above you are actually working for the desire of keeping you around, which thus, man, a lot of companies, the customers are also the employee, are also employees are also customers, and they spread that energy. Best advertisement for a company just by coming from a good atmosphere, they'll carry that for your company into the community. So,
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And so that is really that that's really the main pieces here because all this does is uh, it creates inspiration,
yeah.
right? If you're creating an inspiring workplace, an inspiring culture, one that helps the employee evolve, one that receives the employee opinion and recognizes them and all these type of things. It become one of those like best places to work.
Hmm.
That's a big award that's sent out. Best place to work 2024. Like that becomes a great branding piece for an employer and that helps garner and gain talent as
Hmm.
well from those type of things as well.
Yep. Um, yeah, I guess my last thing is when you think about creating a program, think about creating the program from the idea of people want to be seen. And that doesn't mean necessarily celebrity, but seen because of their productivity, even if they're not out there boasting it 24/7, about them to being the best employee. It's nice to have a program or an environment that you work in where just your stats and what you're doing alone, keeping your head down and working, people see you and they incentivize that, which thus makes people feel appreciated. And a lot of times in life in general, that's why we love when people love their job, a lot of times it's because they're not validated anywhere else but the job. And if the job exclusively validates you, you're not going anywhere. It's the only place that says, hey, I love what you're doing. So yeah, make that atmosphere. Employees will stick around.
Right. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Growth Mindset podcast, and we'll see you next time.